Company featured. Welcome to this Stockbox interview.
Christopher Gattison, the CEO of Nova Minerals, joins us today following news from their flagship project, the Estelle Gold Project. Christopher, welcome to Stockbox. You're reporting Bonanza grades at the RPM North Prospect. How do you feel?
It's great to be with you, Mark. We feel great. Obviously, we're pleased with this result, especially since it's our first drilling program at RPM. Usually these things play out where you do a drilling program, kind of reassess, go back, and might take the second or the third to really hit the bullseye. But we're very pleased with the result, and we'll be following this up very, very soon. We're planning the next stage of drilling out there, and we'll get out there as soon as possible here in 2022. What's so remarkable about this is that when you assess these intercepts and just deposits in general, it's there's several boxes to tick there. It's sort of the grade, and we definitely have that with our headline result of 132 meters at 10 grams per ton. And the other thing you want to look at is the thickness, of course, how wide the zone is. And so at least 132 meters wide, but it's still open. The mineralization started at the top of the drill hole, and so behind those drill holes, it still remains open. So who knows how wide it'll be. So the thickness is definitely there. And then the other important factor with these things is, you get a lot of good results out there, but they're usually quite deep. And this one, RPM is right on the surface. It's right on the surface. And in fact, the way we planned this drilling is beforehand. Last year, we did we have that historical hole out there, 120 meters at a gram that we wanted to follow up. But last year, we went out there first and did a rock chip sampling program. And our results just came back phenomenally on 9 to 10 ounces per ton in some of those rock chips. So it's right on the surface. So it ticks all the boxes. And like I said, we've hit the bullseye here, and it looks to be quite a large system. And we'll be following this up in very short order for sure.
Okay. Now, I remember the last time we spoke, we were talking about the met ore sorting and how that can increase the grade. Is that the plan here as well?
That's right. So the way we kind of envision it playing out now, we've only had a few days to digest all this. So remember, we're talking about RPM, which is really the next cab off the rank. So, we're not a one-hit wonder out here at Estelle with our Corbel deposit. Now we have two resource deposits that will be advancing through in the years to come, in the weeks, months, and years to come. And not just that, across our 324 square kilometer claim block, we have 15 other known prospects at various stages of advancement we can talk about. But to answer your question, so at Corbel, if you remember, which is what we've been working on with a lot of infill drilling this year, a lot of results have come out on that, more to follow. The idea there, it's a bulk mineable system, so a very large system. Tons are the game out there with these intrusive related gold system. And the reason that we report our resources there at such a low cutoff is because we've been so successful with the ore sorting technology. What we've been able to do is take a very low grade material, 0.4 material, 0.5 material, put it through the ore sorters, and our test work has shown an upgrade in our test work, actually up to 6 grams per ton. Now, we to optimize that and calibrate it, we want to capture as much of the gold as possible. So what our flow sheet looks like now we'll put in 0.3, 0.4 material, and then capture over 80% of the gold. And then that accepted grade out of the ore sorters will be around that 1.5 to 2.5 grams per ton, and then go through a milling circuit. And so now with this RPM material, now we have a high grade sweetener, as they say. And so how this might play out, I suspect, and I've been involved with numerous projects where you do this when you have a high grade source, is that now you can actually take advantage of more of the resource at Corbel. So you might start mining, and it might become economic to take 0.2 gram material and put that through the ore sorters. So that'll add something in the neighborhood of an additional 100 million tons. You put it through the ore sorter, you start to capture even more of the gold. so say 90% of the gold, and it comes out the other side of the ore sorter at 0.5, 0.6, 0.7, somewhere around there. And so you might have a recipe then to put into the mill, 4 or 5 buckets of Corbel ore sorted 0.5 material, 1 bucket of RPM 3-gram high grade sweetener, and off you go, right? And off you go. So that's how that might play out. So I would suspect that that RPM will be used, that material will be used as that. But remember, there's also not just that high grade core at RPM, but there's also, it's an intrusive related gold system as well with a very high grade core, but there's also a lot of this 0.5 and type material as well. So it's going to be a very large system with a grade range anywhere from 0.4, 0.5 all the way up to 10 grams per ton. So it's a great addition to our global resource inventory and our project flow sheet and recipe, as it were, as we move forward here.
Yeah, I like the recipe idea. That makes a lot of sense. The RNS also mentioned, I noticed, that RPM South as well, and it has a possible convergence with RPM North. So these two areas, what kind of area do they make up in the Estelle project, and how does it compare to Corbel Main, your current resource?
Right. So the first thing is it's obviously much higher grade. Although as we drill, remember Corbel Main only constitutes a small area of the Corbel Valley mineralized system, right? And so for your listeners that follow our story, that Corbel Valley has numerous anomalies throughout, and we believe we're on to, it's currently a 4.7 million ounce resource at Corbel Main, but we believe the valley as a whole, we're on to one of these 10 million ounce whoppers, which are not so uncommon in our neighborhood here if you look at our peers throughout the Tintina Gold Province. But eventually, I believe when we continue to drill at Corbel, we're going to hit one of these high grade holes. We're going to get a big blowout zone. I don't know where, I don't know when, but my experience tells me that eventually we're going to hit that. It might be at the Cathedral anomaly there in Corbel. Somewhere in that Corbel, we're going to hit one of these high grade zones because it's such a large system, right? Such a large system. But you talked about RPM South. Now, this drilling program we did this year was just focused on RPM North. We had additional holes for RPM South as well, but we didn't get to that area. Our groundwater source of water froze up before we could get there this year, and so we pulled out and put all the rigs on Corbel, focusing on this infill drilling. But RPM South actually has a larger footprint in terms of the I alluded to the rock chip sampling we did last year. So the footprint on the surface from that rock chip sampling, with some of the results, again, ounces per ton, is much larger at RPM South. And so that'll be another exciting area to hit as soon as we get out there again, as soon as possible in 2022. So it'll be following up this RPM 005 high grade hit. That means stepping out 200 meters to the west of that, as well as RPM South will be drilled in the next drill program as well. Now, what we'll do as well is establish a groundwater source for water, so we can have extended drilling there all year round, or at least extended season drilling at RPM. We didn't do that this year, but that's what we do at Corbel. That's why we're able to drill there all year round. And so remember, these two deposits they sit 20 miles apart along mineralized strike. So RPM is 20 miles due south of Corbel. When you fly that distance and you look down, there's numerous other gold showings and unnamed color anomalies that are just screaming back at you when you look down in that area. And so we'll be advancing these prospects with our reconnaissance exploration programs as we move forward. And we've already done some of that work every year. I'll note that recent news releases in the last couple of months, we've shown some of these very significant discoveries that we've made. To name the ones that we've recently announced, the Train Shoeshine area. This is another one of these very large intrusive related gold systems. 20 to 30 grams per ton in rock chips there over a strike length of 1 kilometer and 500 meters width at Train. And then very nearby, the Shoeshine prospect, which we also trace very good rock chip results over 1 kilometer. We believe that's all part of the same system, and those two areas are just exposed at surface, but it's a very large intrusive related gold system there. Also, the Stony prospect. also between Corbel and RPM. And this one adds a whole new dimension to the Estelle project, because not only do we have gold at Bonanza grades, but also silver and copper. Silver in the thousands of grams per ton, and copper up to 2.5% there as well. So a polymetallic vein system. This main vein, the Stony vein, we're able to trace 4 kilometers strike length. We see it 10 to 12 meters in width. As we map it through the hills, we can observe it 300 meters in vertical extent. But it's not just that vein. If you look, if we see either side of that in parallel, we also see a number of further veins sticking up through the cover, and we believe, which are also good rock chip results. And so we believe it's a stacked polymetallic vein system, quite a large system in itself. So that adds a whole new dimension to the project, and gets a whole new different kind of investor interested in what we're doing out here. Okay.
Now, you have mentioned before this road to 10 million ounces. And of course, at the moment, you've got 4.7. Is that right, from Corbel main in the resource?
And right. Yeah. So if you know our story, we've gone from 2.5 million ounces in our maiden resource in 2019, and in 2 short years, we've increased that by over 2 million ounces to 4.7 now. And that resource was released in April earlier this year. We've been drilling, of course, nonstop since then, and have 40,000 meters since then. A significant portion of that will be included in our next resource update for Corbel before the end of this year, within this year. And then also RPM maiden resource to come out in the coming weeks. So I have 3 holes left to report from RPM, and we'll try to get that. Those are starting to trickle in, those results, and we'll try to get that news release out, hopefully by Friday, but definitely by next week. And then from there, hand it straight over to our independent resource estimators and come out with a maiden resource at RPM. And so those two together now, those 2 resource updates, I think we'll see a significant increase in our global resource ounces,
Yes, it will certainly help you get closer to that 10 million. And of course, you've mentioned as well the other targets as well, the other deposits. You reeled off a few names there. I'm just trying to get an idea of how they would all fit into the bigger picture. You've mentioned about the sort of recipe idea of going through the mill, but I mean, will these projects all form part of the main Estelle Gold project and reserve, or could they be projects in themselves? Or are we talking here more of like a longevity kind of view where you can start mining at one place, but you've got your future proofing? How do they all fit in, do you think? Because it's pretty massive.
Yes, that's right. And so, we're actually, it's interesting. Good question. We're actually putting out our latest presentation will come out here shortly. And one of the maps and images we have there is kind of a unlocking the district map. And you can kind of see our vision of how we would access all these areas. And so that's what we're doing. We're unlocking the district. It's not just a one-trick pony with Corbel. Now we have RPM and just numerous. And so what the idea is that Corbel is the flagship, and that's where we would have our central mining and processing hub. And then we have a pipeline of these other deposits that would then be fed into that Corbel mining processing center. And so we already have routes. There's valleys. It's a mountainous area, but we already have the routes mapped out, how we would develop our haul road system. And the presentation the next presentation will show this quite wonderfully, actually. And so that's the idea. You have a series of haul roads, a network of haul roads that you haul everything into the central Corbel processing facility. That makes the most sense. This is where your big tons are at Corbel. Your big tons are there. So a majority of your material, you don't want to haul all that halfway across the countryside, but that's how we envision it. You have a central processing facility and then a pipeline of projects that gets hauled to that area. And remember, so there'll be more rather than RPM. We've already found some Train, Stony, but exploration is virgin country pretty much out there. So the exploration is relatively still easy and straightforward. Lots of outcropping exposure. Don't have to utilize any a complex sort of deep searching techniques yet. We basically just have geologists running around on the ground, kicking rocks, old school style, and we're able to make discoveries like this very, very easily. So that's the beauty. We talked about depth earlier. All these deposits are on the surface, very large systems. They're not just small veins you're chasing around. They're very, elliptoidal shaped ore bodies, these intrusive related gold systems. So that is ideal geometry for very good economics, creates a very low strip ratio and, decades of mine life on any one of these deposits. And so we think we'll be out there for 50 years, potentially mining and processing all of these with the ones that we have and the additional ones that we'll just continue to discover. So exciting times ahead.
Indeed. And the infill drilling at Korbel going well?
Yes, it is. And so one thing we want to accomplish in this next resource update coming at Korbel is, of course, we've done a lot of infill drilling. That's been our main focus there. So we're going to be not only upgrading the resource in terms of expanding it, more resources, but also proving it up to that indicated status now, right? So we have 100-meter space lines, mainly in that south area of Korbel, where we have what we envision as our starter pit, kind of the higher grade zone that we're seeing. And a lot of that will be transferred into indicated, which can then be translated into reserves, of course, as we move forward with our studies.
Okay, super. Well, thank you very much. Just a final thought, if I may. Can you give us a sense of the feeling on the ground then amongst the team? And also, to steal a phrase from you, what's the next cab off the rank?
The next cab off the rank. So I think right now we got our hands full with RPM. Like I said, we're just trying to digest that and get that drilling plan and get out there as soon as possible to see truly the size and scale of this thing. Because something that, when you have an intercept like that, 132 to 10.1, again, it's not a small thing. And so the feeling is full steam ahead. Everybody's all this hard work is paying off. We already had Korbel, now RPM. And so I think in terms of the next cab off the rank for drilling, it would be train shoeshine. I hope to get a rig out there next year, but we don't want to lose focus on what we're trying to accomplish at Korbel and RPM now. So it's just full steam. We're a year-round operation. We have a fully winterized camp. We're going into the snow road season. This is when we bring in more equipment. I got another drill rig coming in now. It's finally arrived in Alaska. I'll probably order up another one and expand our camp. And so we're just getting started out there, Mark. We're just getting started. The best is yet to come.
Okay. Well, Christopher Guttyson, the CEO of Nova Minerals, thank you very much for your time.
Thanks for having us, and I look forward to the next update.
Thank you for listening to this Stockbox interview. For more information, interviews and videos, visit our website at stockboxmedia.com or give us a follow on Twitter by searching @StockboxMedia.